I keep seeing headlines about how Rosie O'Donnell is moving to Ireland, how Americans are moving to the UK, maybe the more adventurous are moving to Thailand. These are the roads well traveled. And today I'm going to share with you 5 underrated countries that I would live in, and maybe you could too. What's most interesting about these underrated countries is they often have a couple of things in common. They have friendly people. Many of them have low, or potentially for you even zero taxes. They often have good weather. The country that I've lived in the longest is Malaysia. And believe it or not, when I first decided to move to Malaysia after traveling all over Asia, I did not realize how immigration friendly it was, and I did not realize how tax friendly it was. I said, this is where I want to live, and I went and looked up how it worked, and lo and behold, they had great immigration and great taxes. And I think that there's almost a feeling around great underrated countries where you may not go there for the low taxes, but they're going to give you stuff because that's kind of in their DNA. So let's talk about the 5 countries that have these great qualities, underrated countries that I would live in. And the first one we've been talking about more recently is Oman. We filmed an episode of Live Like a King there. It's been zero tax for a long time. There will be an income tax rolled in, 5%. Ultra safe, has a lot of the qualities of a place like the UAE, but with less of the glitz and the glam. And I say that not in a bad way. I say that for someone who wants a place that is extremely safe, extremely comfortable. They want to get away from the glitz and the glam and have family friendliness, be away from the scene. What I love about Oman is I just feel, and all the times that I've gone there and I've talked to a lot of locals, everyone's living in harmony. They've got Omanis. It is one of the countries in the Gulf with the larger percentage of locals. It is not a place like Qatar where it's all expats, but there are people who live there from all around the world, and the country just works. People are not at each other's throats. It is not the politics of the West. The country keeps getting better and better. People are happy to live there, and it's just a much more calm place to be, a safe place to be, a low tax place to be. The weather is good, yes, in the summer. You might want to find somewhere else to go. Oman is a place that I would live. I think definitely, you want to have a spouse and kids to make the most out of it. What I also like about countries in that part of the world is, as with the UAE, as with Qatar, you can get residence by making an investment. You're seeing in Europe, they're closing down citizenship programs. They're closing down golden visa programs. They almost don't want investors in Europe. In Oman and in that region, they want investors. Come in, buy some bonds, buy a property, get a residence permit. You can live there as long as you want, or you don't have to live there. You can keep the residence permit in your back pocket. I think especially if I was starting a family, that would be a place I would want in my back pocket, especially if I had some extra liquidity to invest. To me, it's a pretty stable country. I'm not an investment advisor, but I certainly would put some capital there if I wanted to live there. And I think it's an underrated place, in the shadow of a Dubai, for example, or even a Qatar. It is not, again, as glam. The airline is not quite as exciting. But, they have nonstop flights to a number of places, including where I live in Kuala Lumpur. And I would definitely consider that in the Gulf as an alternative for folks who don't like Dubai. In the Indian Ocean, Mauritius, a country I've been telling you about for a while, it is low tax. It is away from the chaos for folks who are looking for a plan B that is far away from it all. Maybe you're worried about a world war. You hear talk about nuclear war. You hear all kinds of chaos. Mauritius is pretty far away from that stuff. Consider perhaps New Zealand of the Indian Ocean, with a better tax regime and more accessible without having to invest millions of dollars to go there. I also think it compares to Malaysia in some ways. I've called it the Malaysia of the Indian Ocean in that it is multicultural. You've got different cultures within the citizenry of the country, which I like. You've got beautiful scenery. People are all pretty chill, and yet, things do get done. It's not total island time from my experience. Compared to the Bahamas, for example, I think things seem to move a little bit faster. Slower, perhaps, than on the mainland. It's a gateway to Africa, which is a place that I'm telling you more about reviewing investments. I've been reviewing over the last week investment opportunities in Africa. Mauritius is a good place to position yourself not only to see the opportunities with your own 2 eyes, but potentially as a way to structure your investments in Africa. And while citizenship is not as straightforward in Mauritius, there is potentially a way to get it in as little as 2 years. I don't think that they always give it out after 2 years, but there's potentially a way to get it. They're one of the passports, and they're one of the countries that gets along with everybody. Their passport is one of only about half a dozen where you can go to the UK, Europe, Russia, and China without a visa. So they get along with everybody, as they say. And it's a more affordable investment than Oman. $375,000 investment in a villa in certain areas designed for foreigners. They have more affordable villas than I actually would have expected. We're actually sending one of our R&D team members down there the next month or two to check out all the different villa areas and figure out where you might want to live. The $375,000 villas aren't the nicest ones. I mean, you can get up into $1, $2, $3 million. But the point is, you can make a relatively small real estate investment, have the option to live there. It could be a plan B in case the world totally collapses and you want to go somewhere far away, or it could be a low tax place to live. Number 3 on the list is Argentina. I was recently in Buenos Aires. We filmed Live Like a King. You can find that episode on our new channel, livelikeakingtv.com. Argentina feels like a throwback to me. A lot of things feel like it's the roaring 20s. And by that I mean the 1920s. Really smart people there. I have told you for some time, it's a place to hire. We have hired some people from Argentina. I really felt a difference between, let's say, Brazil and Argentina. Things just seemed more efficient. I really liked the people there. I liked it there. It is, as they say, Europe in Latin America. You have a lot of people of European ethnicity. It also is far away from the chaos. So if you want to be somewhere on the mainland, not in an ocean, I think Argentina fits that bill if you're trying to get away. As Doug Casey would say, watch the nuclear war on your TV. With the new president, this could be a country that's going to turn around, and there's a pretty quick path to citizenship. I think a better case can be made for citizenship in about 2 years in Argentina than could be made in Mauritius. Both are pretty equal, quality passports. Argentina is a great quality passport. Like all the others, you can't go to the US with it or Canada, but you can go to Europe. You can go to a lot of places all around the world as a citizen of Argentina. And so I just felt physically better there. My issue would be I wouldn't want to travel so much living in Argentina. I like to travel, and it is quite a ways down there. So if you value being far away from it all, and you value that kind of European vibe without the toxicity of Europe these days, and you want to be around efficient people, and perhaps like me, you like a little bit of the roaring 20s vibe, I think Argentina is a place that I could live. I'll tell you, number 4, where I would probably prefer to live is in Colombia. Not only it's closer to the rest of the world, I happen to think Bogota is one of the most vibrant cities in Latin America, probably next to Mexico City. Mexico is not on this list because I don't think it's underrated. People know the secret's out about Mexico. Colombia, I've been telling you about for a long time. I don't think the secret is still entirely out. Now, Colombia and Argentina are not tax-friendly. However, if you live there only part-time, you could potentially pay 0 tax by simply not being in their tax net. The benefit on the other side of Argentina and Colombia is if you learn Spanish, or if you already speak Spanish, you've got one language you can move between practically a whole hemisphere. And so, whatever tax changes or geopolitical changes or just lifestyle changes you want, learning that language opens up a lot of options for you. I think Colombia is, and particularly where I live in Bogota, is one of the great consumer convenience cities of the world. I brought plenty of people on my team here. They're always shocked by how beautiful the brick on a lot of the buildings are, the greenery, and an amazingly green city, really humble and kind people in Colombia. Just an amazing scene of restaurants and places to go. The most biodiverse country in the world. If you like nature, get out, go hiking, go see something beautiful, animals, birds, and yet come back and be in a city where there's just a lot going on. And so I think that Colombia is a country that, because it's a large enough country, it's been advancing in many ways. I continue to believe that Colombia is underrated. And I will say this, as a city, I think Bogota is underrated. I think a lot of people go to Medellin for the eternal spring. For me, the eternal fall, where it's perpetually 16 to 20 degrees Celsius, 60s, maybe low 70s Fahrenheit, that's not so bad. You wear a light sweater, and it's nice to wear a sweater and trousers for once. So, I would vouch, particularly for Bogota, as I have for many years. I think Colombia is definitely a place that people could live in South America, unless you're in Uruguay, Paraguay, Chile. You're going to have high taxes if you live there full time. Potentially, for example, Colombia could be a place where you come for 3 or 4 months a year to escape the heat of the summer in Oman. So you could look at it like that. Number 5, you've heard me talk for years about Malaysia. I still believe it's underrated. We filmed Live Like a King Kuala Lumpur. We also have Live Like a King Penang coming out. Again, livelikeakingtv.com. You'll see that's the coastal city where more, for example, Australian clients of ours have wanted to move to Penang than to Kuala Lumpur. I believe Malaysia remains one of the best value destinations in the world. Buenos Aires might have been in contention for that some time ago. The one challenge in Buenos Aires now, it is no longer cheap. Kuala Lumpur and Bogota remain 2 of the most affordable cities for what you get in the world. I don't care how much money you have, I still like to get a deal. There's nothing greater than going out to the Majestic Hotel in Kuala Lumpur and getting 2 cocktails during happy hour for $9 with guys in white dinner jackets. I just enjoy that, but I'm not willing to sacrifice creature comforts to do it. Malaysia, to me, best value destination. Again, kind people, humble people, very affordable housing. That's one thing. Bogota's still pretty affordable. Buenos Aires isn't that affordable for housing. Kuala Lumpur may have the best quality and most affordable housing for such a high level city in the world. I can still find properties for $1,300, $1,400 a meter. I mean, you can't live in Yerevan, Armenia for that price. There's places in Cairo, Egypt, like the cheapest real estate city in the world, that sell for more than that. Phnom Penh, Cambodia real estate costs more than Kuala Lumpur. And yet, I live in a building that's, I think, is very high quality. I get great service. Now, you've heard me talk about some of these countries. And so you might not think, oh, okay, Andrew's always talking about those. They remain underrated because, let's take Malaysia, for example. More people still choose to live in Thailand, even though Thailand has made their tax system more complicated. I understand if you've got a Thai wife, for example, and you want to move there, totally understand why you want to go. But if you're just looking at the world as a blank slate, you don't want to follow the herd. You want to go to the place that is the best value. For me in Malaysia, it's an English-speaking country. I would rather go and be able to speak English everywhere I go. That as much as I really have come to appreciate Bangkok, we filmed Live Like a King Bangkok, and I would argue it is a more luxurious city than Kuala Lumpur, but that extra level of luxury is not something that I need on a day-to-day basis. And so I would rather be able to speak English rather than going to Bangkok, and there's some people who just won't understand English. I would take that and I would sacrifice some of the top level luxury. I can go to Bangkok and go to one of the best restaurants in the world if I want to. There's plenty of great restaurants in Kuala Lumpur. So you've heard me talk about some of these places. I would encourage you to go and watch our Live Like a King episodes, both past and forthcoming in these places. But my message is, rather than Dubai, rather than Bangkok, rather than the Caribbean, maybe you consider some of these alternatives instead. I like to go to the places that are less traveled. Number one, you'll have fewer expats and you'll be able to enjoy the beauty of the place. But again, they are potentially easier to deal with in terms of immigration. Malaysian taxation is a little bit easier to deal with, and you can potentially pay zero more so than you can in Thailand these days. And so that, to me, is the value of underrated places. They're going to give you more because they haven't built up that reputation. The reason that Europe is closing down citizenship programs and golden visas is they're like, we don't really want you here. So why would you go where you're not wanted? Look at underrated countries where they want you. If you want our help to find the best countries for you, you can go to nomadcapitalist.com. Our service is holistic and bespoke. I know a lot of people these days, they've borrowed those words from me. When I say bespoke, I mean every plan that we create for a client is supposed to be different because every client has different needs. Now, certainly we get clients who have very similar preferences, and there may be certain programs that are more popular than others. But the point is, we're going to listen to your needs. We're going to measure you, as it were. We're going to figure out, what's most important to you. And we're going to build a plan around that, not just on selling Dubai to everybody, or selling Bangkok to everybody, or selling a Caribbean passport to everybody. Your needs are different. And your plan also has to be holistic. You can't just move to Colombia and say, oh, I moved here. Why are my taxes so high? You need a holistic plan to encompass everything that's involved. If you move to Colombia, you're not going to move your banking there, at least in any measurable sum. If you move to Oman, it's probably not where your trust is going to be. You want to have a global, holistic plan that's tailored to you. That's what we make for folks. And if you have a holistic plan, you can live even in countries that have high taxes and potentially pay zero taxes there. So go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply. Learn how we can put our underrated countries and our knowledge and our network of experts to work for you. And if you like some overrated countries, we do help you with those too.